AITA for telling my mom I'm staying with dad full-time until I don't have to share my room. 15F. Live 1 week with my dad and another with mom. They divorced 3 years ago and my mom has been dating John for a year. John and I don't hate each other but not close. We all live in the same town as most my dad's side of the family, so other than my music lesson I also hung out a lot with my cousins and didn't spend a lot of time around John. A month ago John and his daughter Trisha, 11F, moved in temporarily into my house because there was a fire at theirs. My house has 2 bedrooms, so Trisha has to stay in my room. My bed is a bunk bed because I was getting a sister but my mom miscarried. Trisha and I hung out only a few times before this, but I can say the same about her and John. I don't hate her, but she turns out to be hard to live with. She has long hair and her hair is everywhere. She talks in her sleep and I was woken up 5 or 6 times since her stay. She also sometimes tried to speak to me when I already turned off my lamp, a sign that I was going to sleep. I talked to my mom and she said I needed to be nicer to her since she's been through a lot. That my issues were just minor inconveniences. That Trisha would be back at her own home soon. In late January, I talked to my dad and he said I could just move in with him until Trisha leaves. I then packed my bags and told my mom I'll be staying at dad's. She blew up at me, saying what a spoiled brat I am and that I'm making John and Trisha feel horrible for imposing. I just left. It's been a week now and my mom never reached out to me. She dropped my Christmas presents at my grandma's because my dad and I would celebrate Christmas there. I don't think my mom can get the law involved because I'm 15 and I just have to tell them the living situation and they should understand. Besides, it's only till I can have my room back again. Still, AITA? NTA at all. I would have tried temporarily relocating also. Many are cheering OP on. I'm not buying it. Sharing a room isn't a crime against humanity. Plus, you seem to have been lined up to share a room with a biological sister. But now that you have to share with your pseudo-stepsister, it is a step too far. This is a temporary situation. The complaints you make are, in fact, minor irritations, and things that can generally be worked out in a calm, mature fashion. You're actively pitting one parent against the other. You are, in fact, making people going through a tough time feel worse, and going out of your way to really make them feel like a burden. Ask yourself, if there was a fire in your apartment, and you and your mom had to live with John and his daughter for a few weeks to settle things, would you appreciate the daughter complaining about every little thing that was inconveniencing her? You haven't thought things through. So, after insulting John and his daughter, after blowing off your mom, after pitting your dad and his family against your mom, after openly speculating on using the legal system to back you up, you seem to think you can waltz back home and everything will be okay? You've kinda gone for the nuclear option here. So don't be surprised when you come back to a radioactive wasteland. So, this isn't a case where you're standing up for yourself. You are actively hurting people for very weak reasons. That's not self-assured, but just being selfish. YTA. A house fire is very traumatic along with losing all of her things. The talking in her sleep she can't help, and it could be related to the fire. However, talking to you after turning out the light is what can be handled. The correct thing would have been for your mother to talk to her boyfriend and the boyfriend to make it clear to his daughter that she has to respect you wanting to sleep when the lights go out. No amount of trauma gives a person the right to be disrespectful. You have the best solution you can in the circumstances. Live with your dad. Your mother should understand this. Under the circumstances, your mother should be 100% supportive of this solution. It's perfectly reasonable. NTA. Trisha is 11. Everything you described is standard 11-year-old stuff and are minor inconveniences. That being said, there's no reason you can't stay with your dad temporarily while they sort the fire out. Your mom shouldn't have blown up at you. Nothing here is a hill worth dying on. Return her gifts unopened on her doorstep. NTA. So, you were getting a sister. That's why you had a bunk bed. You were ready to share a room with a newborn and a toddler for years. But not with a 11-year girl for a short period? Your mother miscarried. Her partner and his daughter lost their home and his belongings. You are offended. Because they had to stay with you for a little while. And OMG. Long hair everywhere. YTA. Stay with your father, but do not expect your mother to be happy about your teenager angst. NTA. Parents seem to not understand how this type of change affects their kids during a time of their lives when they are learning a lot about themselves. Yes, this girl and her father need a place to stay. They have been through a lot, but big changes to your way of life is also very problematic. I went through something similar when I was young with a cousin, and it was a pretty bad experience. All around. Slightly you for not understanding that the family has been displaced due to a fire. Slightly your dad for not talking it over with your mom. Totally your mom for calling you names and ignoring you at Christmas, not John and his daughter. Your mom offered without talking it over, but that's on her. Sleep is important to your education. If she keeps waking you, then this will affect your grades. YTA. Not for moving in with your dad. That is your right to do. It's the way you go about the situation and treat Trisha in your text as a total inconvenience. She is 11. They are still developing mentally, and to top it off, she now has the added trauma of her house being on fire during the holidays. While it's normal for teenagers your age to lack any empathy, it's still a problem due to the fact your response to the situation isn't to talk it over and come up with solutions, but to ditch your mom. She isn't hurt that you moved in with your dad. She is hurt cause she feels you are punishing her for showing empathy to her BF and his daughter. When they have fallen on hard times and rent is horrible, so they probably would have been homeless for a bit. NTA. She's right that they are just minor inconveniences. But you also have a right to be irritated by them and to not want to stay there under those conditions. It's understandable you'd be uncomfortable and not know how to deal with the situation given you've spent the majority of your life as an only child having your own private space where you can relax and decompress. It's jarring and upsetting suddenly having another human being forced into your personal area. I'm also curious if you were even asked beforehand. This was a moment where she should have sat down with you and listened to what you had to say, as well as you ask more questions. It was a pivotal moment she could have used to teach you how to communicate your concerns to Trisha, and to help Trisha be more mindful about her behavior as well as respectful while she's in your space. Her blowing up and insulting you over this was completely uncalled for. That and everything she did after is what makes her TA. If she had a problem with you leaving, she should have spoken to your father, because he is the one who offered for you to stay with him. At least he did something instead of brushing off the problem and doing nothing about it. Your mother is the one who made John and Trisha feel unwelcome by making this a far bigger deal than it was. Flipping out over this instead of being a good parental figure to you and Trisha, and painting you as some kind of villain when you never did anything to warrant it. YTA. Because of the lack of empathy. Legally, yeah, you can go to your dad's till they're gone. But it sounds like you just blindsided your mom on this. You called your dad, got permission from that parent, and left. Do you often get to go to the other parent when you don't like what's going on with the other's house? You're not going to be able to run away from small problems like this forever and should work on conflict resolution skills. If this teen was breaking your things, insulting you, being inappropriate with boundaries, etc., that's a different scenario. But she's just trying to live after a fire took everything she had and she tried to talk to you after you turned your light off? That's not a crime or a dick move. Running to a whole new building because you're feeling territorial, and possibly driving your feet in the sand to show you're not on board with your mom's relationship with this person, over your bedroom, over the holidays. Your mom gave them somewhere to live over the holidays and you're upset she talked to you in the dark and her hair sheds like a normal mammal. You don't have to be best friends. But you can be a good solid person but supporting other humans with some empathy when life kicks their legs out from under them. You could have sucked it up for 2 months, man, and earned yourself some good karma, or just had an open conversation with everyone involved. You're 15, not 10. Soon you'll be driving. And then a legal adult. Can't run off to another place, cut a lease because your roommate is irritating. Your dorm mates could be up to 3 twats who leave a lot worse than hair around. Will push your boundaries in a real sense. And you need to be able to handle that. This was like a really low stakes situation like that and you took off in a real immature way. Watch out, spoiled brat alert. An 11-yo just lost her home and who knows what important things, and you're focused on complaining about her hair. Op is technically NTA, but she's showing how self-centered she is. And I don't blame the mom for not wanting to focus on her at Christmas. NTA, you're the child in this situation, and whilst it's unfair that the steps have had a fire, I would fully expect adults to be able to handle their business, including insurance and all the usual paperwork, so that after the short-term emergency overnight accommodation things could be organized to find the steps a semi-permanent place to stay whilst their home is repaired. Insurance should be able to cover this, and having to share your home and space for over a month is more than imposing, especially over Christmas. You're 15 and she's 11. That's a huge age gap to tolerate someone in such close proximity with no choice. If they go back in January as originally promised, then normality can commence. Your mom is out of order for moving a man she has known for a year into the family home along with his child, and double off for ignoring you. If they make you feel uncomfortable, no questions asked, you should be her priority. Hair and sleep talking aren't really good enough reasons, but I suspect it's far more than that, and you can't describe the feelings of being overwhelmed by someone in your space and the lack of privacy that you're experiencing, as well as feeling pushed out. INTA. NTA. There is a lot of nuance and complexity to a co-parenting dynamic that we don't know from your post, which makes it hard to make a clear judgment. But I'd say YTA. It sounds like your behavior is hurting a lot of people, including yourself. Also YTA to your father for not discussing with your mother before agreeing to anything with you. You are, whether intentionally or not, establishing a standard that you get what you want from one of your parents, or else you will simply leave their life, home to join the other. Although the implication may feel subtle, this is a terrible undermining and disregard for your mother's rights and responsibilities to you. As a parent, effectively demonstrating you will use your broken home as a means to now call the shots. As long as you're prepared to play that card. And there is always another parent willing to let you leverage this position. Parenting becomes a tightrope walk of no longer being able to decide what's best for you or your future, lest risk losing you entirely to the disagreement. In this case, for example, maybe your mother is genuinely worried that you're showing a concerning lack of empathy to Trisha. Here, maybe her point that you should be more caring is not for logistical considerations but because She's concerned about you growing up into a kind, supportive person. Your actions say, "I'm out of here, I'll be back to treat you like a parent when I get what I want." That's so harmful and hurtful, and so disrespectful to the efforts and thought she may have put into being your parent and trying to raise you. Again, though, this is with a huge caveat that I'm very unaware of the specifics of your situation. I have a wife, an 11-year-old daughter, and a 16-year-old child. The 16-year-old has very long hair, and it gets everywhere. The other two also have long hair but not quite as long. There is just hair everywhere, all of the time, and it can get annoying. So I really do understand what you're talking about there. Also, as someone who had to share a room for a few years while growing up and also shared a room in college, and I share a room now with my wife. Sharing a room can be annoying for a variety of reasons. But a big one, of course, is if the other person wakes you up, which can happen a lot, especially if you are a light sleeper, due to noises they can make if they get up in the middle of the night, snore, or babble in their sleep. So for all of that, I don't think you are tough for not wanting to share your room. And that doesn't even include the lack of privacy or the general discomfort of having someone in your personal space. Here's where I think you could have been better, though. Now, having parents get divorced can suck. And good for you for at least getting one small benefit out of that situation by having another place you can go while John and Trisha are staying at your mother's place. But I think you could have talked to your mother and talked to Trisha and discussed the situation with them and presented your solution in such a way so as to not make Trisha feel unwelcome. Letting her stay in your room while you stay at your dad's for a month or two, with maybe you visiting your mom's house periodically, is not inherently bad or selfish. Nor does it make you a spoiled brat, which I think is a bit ridiculous given the circumstances. I mean, it's kind of a win-win that maximizes the comfort for both you and Trisha and reduces the likelihood of you growing resentful toward her by being in forced close proximity. Even married couples who share a space can get annoyed with their partners regarding how they make use of the space and what quirks they might have. Ultimately, I'm going to say though lighter off for you because what you did was not wrong, but the execution lacked tact. However, I'm going to be harder on your mom, who is the real in this situation, because I think she should be more understanding of your position, as this is an imposition even though there's a good reason for it, and instead of insulting you and acting petulant, which is just going to damage her relationship with you, she should have taken your concerns seriously and worked with you to come up with a solution to benefit everyone. NTA. Your mom blew up because either she or John, or both, see this as a catalyst to you all living together. And if she's giving you the silent treatment over Christmas without communicating why this is upsetting her, I hope you're comfy with your dad, cause I don't see this resolving itself in January. I'm sorry this is happening. NTA. You mom is behaving like a petulant little brat. You are not responsible for the other's feelings. If what your mom says is even true, then they need to learn to own that. I hope when you left you gave a bit more of an explanation as to why you were going. Other than that, you have done nothing wrong. The rest is on your mom.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.